China has deleted Israel. China has deleted Israel from its maps. Now look closely. Israel is not on these maps. Yes, you can see the borders and cities. The disputed territories are clearly divided. There are clear demarcations between Israeli and Palestinian territories. Israel's neighbors have been identified. You can see Lebanon on this map. You can see Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. But there is no Israel. These are not Google Maps, because Google Maps is blocked in China. They have their own copies and clones of everything. In China, two companies provide mapping services, Baidu and Alibaba. They've both deleted Israel. And here's how it came to light. When internet users in China checked their maps, they could not find Israel. So is this a software bug or a political salvo? The debate is on in China. These maps with Israel missing are trending on Chinese platforms. And now they're making headlines the world over, but their makers remain silent. Neither Baidu nor Alibaba have bothered to explain what happened here. And it's hard to believe that this is a bug. And it's hard to believe that this is a bug. Because China is quite serious about its maps. They're a tool for the Communist Party. China weaponizes maps. It uses maps to assert territorial claims, also to convey its policy positions. And internet companies simply toe the Communist Party line. So you can say that these maps reflect China's worldview. And now they do not show Israel. China's foreign ministry was asked about this. Their response was vague. It said, China and Israel have quote-unquote normal diplomatic relations, and I'm quoting again, relevant countries are on China's standard maps. Does that mean Israel is not a relevant country?
We are calling for a ceasefire as soon as possible, the protection of civilians, and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state.
Like Hu Shijin, former editor of the Global Times. Recently, an Israeli minister criticized the Hezbollah. Hu Shijin decided to weigh in, and this is what he said, I'm quoting, "Oh, calm down, Israel. I'm worried you'll wipe the earth out of the solar system." China's state mouthpieces are broadcasting similar messages. Recently, a Chinese state broadcaster hosted a discussion. It was about how Jews control wealth in America. How Jews control wealth in America.
This is a really low bar. It really is. All we are saying is, can you just ask Israel to comply with humanitarian law and international law? And we're asking this of a guy who's a human rights lawyer, for crying out loud. If he cannot tell the difference, if he cannot summon the will right now to say, my understanding of human rights law and the basic rules of engagement is that you do not respond to a war crime with another war crime, with another war crime, with another war crime, with another war crime. And by the way, that answers the question you asked Ali. You do not starve people of water and fuel and food, commit a war crime, because a war crime has been committed against you. That is the basics of the engagement of the rule of law when it comes to war. And that's why that's not happening. And that's why that's a war crime for Israel to do that. And for Keir Starmer to not be able to say very clearly, that is a breach of humanitarian law. You have to call for a ceasefire, which, by the way, there's overwhelming majority British support for. You have to lift the siege on Gaza so humanitarian aid can go in. These are very basic things.
Do you think Egypt is committing a war crime?
Egypt is not able to decide whether Rafah is open or closed unless Israel says so. I mean, that's how that situation works.
Well, how does that work? Because it's the border with Egypt.
That's literally how the agreement with Israel works. That's literally how the agreement with Israel works. Seriously, they are not able, come on, you could open a border to let lorries in and not let people out. I mean, this is basic stuff, come on in. The reason it doesn't want Gazans to go through Rafah to Egypt is because it fears that Israel will not let those Palestinians back into Gaza. It fears that there is a giant ethnic cleansing plan going on here, and rightly.
What a pity Egypt didn't want to take Gaza as a territory when it was offered it, but way back when. Well, we wouldn't have this situation for a start, would we?
No. Let's not let's not impose weird scenarios. The reason we
It's not
have
a weird scenario. It happened.
The reason we have this situation is because we have an unequal. This is not like an equal battle between Palestinians and Israel. We have a situation where for over 50 years now, Palestinians have been under military occupation, and it is brutal. It is brutal every single day.
Okay,
right?
well,
and that has got nothing to do with Egypt.
Because
That's got nothing to do with Egypt.
We can't go back to the history, through the whole history of the Palestinian
Well, you know, maybe
situation.
you should, Ian.
In terms of Keir Starmer, ultimately he has to play to the national interest and not party interest. He's a serious politician. He aspires to be the Prime Minister. He has to think in terms of what is in the national interest.
He's taken a more hardline view than Rishi Sunak.
The thing that we have to do as
When
a country
did we
now.
become the 51st state?
That's kind of a separate question, and let's maybe not open that kind of
I mean, that worked really well over Iraq and Afghanistan, didn't it? That was a great idea.
I'm not saying
You've
it's
had
good
a
or
long
bad.
say, Rachel.
I'm not
Let's
saying
see
it's
you
good or
have your
bad,
say.
but I'm just saying that you know, if you want to be a Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, you need to be on the same page as America, or at least as other Western developed countries. And actually, you know what? A lot of European countries have taken this strategy, have taken this position of not calling for a ceasefire, but of going to Israel and saying to Netanyahu, behind the scenes, you know, moderation, but no one is coming out to call for it. And I'm not talking about
the European Union did exactly that yesterday.
Sure, except well, but the European Union is also split on this question as well, by the way. So I just think it's, you know, from a political perspective, set aside the kind of the moral and the values here, because I, you know, completely cast down. I do not know enough about the situation, about the history involved here.